guys, I hit record. Welcome to the Shrewsbury Biscuit podcast. We were coming from a very echoey environment today. And joining me today is Julia Barron. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is a great opportunity to talk to. We're going to be speaking to all the charities that are taking part with the Shropshire Virtual Show. I think it's a great opportunity to raise awareness and tell people if they're going to donate to this great cause, what they're actually donating for. I think add a bit of context. So what is it that you guys do? Do you want to explain to people?
Okay, it's a good job I've got plenty of time. Okay, well, in a nutshell, our role and aim is to improve the life for people in Shropshire who are facing challenges, whether that's individually or as a community.
Okay, and how long has Shropshire RCC been going for?
Well, we'll be celebrating 60 years this year. Well, we would have been making more of a deal of it, obviously, because, with COVID and everything. But yes, the very first meeting of the RCC was 5th of November 1960.
Wow. It's amazing. That's really good because, a lot of these things come and go, and it's good to stand the test of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how was the world when it first started? I mean, obviously things were different then when it came to people that needed a bit more help. They used to say the word blasé earlier. The blasé is probably the perfect word for it back in the 60s, I imagine.
Well, I think... I wasn't very old then, so... but basically, life for rural communities was changing anyway. Yeah. It was around the time that the beaching cuts came to railway lines. So one of the challenges that people had was how they were going to get to work, how they could access services. And those two things are still the same today. The challenges are different, but the problems are the same. A lot of things have changed. Obviously, there's a lot more people working on the land in those days. There was a lot... But the pace of life was slower because people didn't have their own cars, for example. They didn't have the internet. They didn't have access to information. So our role in those early days was very much around helping organisations to set up so that people had access to services as local as possible. Yeah. And the original development officer was very much about going into communities, helping people to identify what the needs were and then set up an organisation. So some of the organisations that we set up, for example, we set up Relate. It was the Marriage Guidance Council in those days. And it was because if you wanted support with your relationship, you had to go to Birmingham, which, is just ridiculous. And, of course, the harder it was to get to Birmingham, the more it was going to be a problem.
It's Birmingham as well, I'm joking, but no, it's... Yeah, things are quicker now. I mean, oh God, there's so much demand now, isn't there? And everything it's moved online. You pay your bills online, you watch your TV online, everybody's chatting on Zoom online now. Everything is there, but not everybody has that ability, do they?
No, and that is a challenge in itself. Yeah. So you've got an older population who perhaps are not so familiar with the technology. There's an awful lot of scare stories out there about if you go online, you will be scammed. All your money will be taken away. Yeah. So people are very nervous about some of those things like banking and shopping. But also, I've come across a number of people who you wouldn't necessarily think were of an age that would reject that so much, but they would say, I've managed all my life without this. Why have I got to do this? And there's a resistance as well as a feeling that the big people like, the BBC or the councils or the government are forcing people to go online when they don't want to, because a lot of the services you can't access any other way. Yeah. So universal credit, for example, you can't claim universal credit.
I work with young people that need to go and pay their bills and send CVs, and everything is online. But these are kids that have got next to no money, so they can't put data on the phone, and they can't do that. So it's a nightmare. And then utilities, things that are really important as well. So
and also if you want to get the best deal, so if you're buying insurance or something like that, the best way to get a good deal is to go online and and do a search. I mean, I've bought car insurance, and then the next year when my renewals come up, I've gone online and searched and got the same insurance with the same company for maybe £150 less.
Exactly, yeah. And I think they take advantage of that, don't they? Some people will just let it run on, and not even investigate it, because obviously that they making some profits out of that, otherwise they won't be doing it. It's crazy. I mean, that's one of the challenges that I wanted to attack with the biscuit, was what we're doing now is to access a demographic of people that wouldn't necessarily be associated with podcasts and listening to things online, because I thought what we're doing right now is a powerful tool for people that can't get out and about, and they can't learn about what's going on around the town. Whereas we were at the flower show like last year, or we were at the driving festivals and doing my vlogs on people can see that, they can experience what's going on through this show, and that's what I wanted to do, and we've been quite successful. When it comes to like reaching people online, as you guys as a company, how have you been able to tackle that and encourage people to access things online?
Well, we've had some projects over the years where we've actually been able to help people to get the basic skills. So usually what happens is that a family member wants mum or dad to be able to communicate with the kids in particular, or just with them, especially if they've moved a long way away. So they buy them an iPad for Christmas. And mum or dad is a bit nervous about it, doesn't like to admit that they can't actually use it. So we've had volunteers who've helped people to do the basics, so set up an email account. And we usually have tried to find something that they're particularly interested in to get them hooked in. So if it's, researching family history, or designing your garden, or, those kind of things. And once they get it, then, sometimes you can't stop them.
Yeah.
And of course, I think the whole, the recent situation has meant that people have been much more willing and open-minded, because they want to talk to their grandchildren, they want to talk to their friends. They've got a WhatsApp messaging service with the village, and they need somebody to get their shopping for them. So that's extends
that community. It really does. And we were speaking of community. We were speaking to I was speaking to Jamie from Shrewsbury Town and the community, amazing charity, and they were saying during the COVID-19, obviously the main lockdown at the beginning, they were giving out tablets to the old, people that are taking part in their services, because it does extend the community and it makes things easier. And there's nothing better than seeing a 70-year-old dude playing Angry Birds. It's just the best. It's just the best. But you know what? I mean, I like to sit there with my tablet sometimes when the TV's mumbling in the background, just sit and read an article. I get involved with a lot of international and local news, so I'm kind of constantly scanning for things, looking, reading and stuff. And my little boy loves his tablet too. So that's one of the challenges that you guys faced. What about the biggest challenge to everyone at the moment is the lockdown? How was that for you guys as a company?
A charity.
Sorry, my bad. My head is all over the place. I'm very sorry. Absolutely challenge me on these things, because I need to wake up. Yeah, as a charity. How do you guys,
well, most of our work is around trying to get people reconnected with their community, and I mean in a face-to-face way. Yeah. So, for example, I'll talk about one of the projects, which is people who've been diagnosed as needing a hearing aid, and they struggle with it. They may struggle because they don't quite understand what they're being told, so they're not quite sure how to use it properly. They may struggle because they've got arthritic fingers, or they've their dexterity isn't as good as it should be. And if you've been a bit delayed in getting a hearing aid, you sort of get a hearing aid, think it's going to change your life, put it in, doesn't work, you think, the damn thing, it doesn't feel very comfortable, and it's not working anyway. So we have about 35 volunteers who go out and help people to get used to their hearing aid. Most of them are people who have a hearing disability themselves. And so what they do is explain how it works and how to keep it clean and how to change the batteries. And they will visit that person maybe 2 or 3 times until they're comfortable with their hearing aid. So we see about 2,000 people a year just to do that. But of course the problem is that, with those people are the vulnerable people, they're shielding. Yeah. So, and to begin with, we said, well, we aren't going to be able to continue to do this until the lockdown lifts. But we had some really desperate phone calls of people saying, my mother or my wife, whatever, is in her early 90s, her hearing aid's not working, she can't communicate, is there something that you can do? So some of our volunteers were willing to go out to people's houses, go and collect the hearing aid, all, perfectly safely, of course, in a bag and using hand sanitizer and gloves and things, and then take it to their car and sort out whatever the problem was and then take it back to the person. And I think that's so heartwarming because, to be 12 weeks or maybe longer and not be able to hear anything is just
terrible,
dreadful, dreadful. But most of our work is, as I say, getting people out into the community. So we run social groups, we run exercise classes in village halls. We have events where people can come along and find about things like diabetes and heart disease and a whole range of sort of long-term health conditions. So we haven't been able to do any of that.
Yes.
So we've moved online really. So we've got a Wise and Well Club started up where people can get a newsletter, which gives them some ideas about how they can stay mobile and motivated. Because the worst thing is, if people have been sat at home literally for weeks and weeks and weeks and haven't done anything, haven't walked anywhere, haven't done any exercise classes, then their mobility will be affected. The muscles start to be affected. And then, in the winter, if they go out, slip on the ice, break a hip, they're in the hospital. It's a vicious circle, really.
Absolutely.
So that's one of the things. The other thing I suppose we've done is that because of our role of supporting other community groups and organisations, we've done a lot of work to support those groups that have sprung up to say, can we help with your shopping? Can we help with your prescriptions? But, that needs to be coordinated. It's not great if some random stranger just tips up on your doorstep and says, I'll get your shopping, give me 50 quid, and never see them again.
Yeah.
So we've done a lot of work around helping out with those kind of things. But some of our work we have had to just park for the moment because it's just not possible.
What was the first week or two like trying to organise people on Skype or Zoom? Was that like?
It was horrendous. It was horrendous because we didn't really get much warning. So, we had to say to staff, right, go home, work from home. So we had to get them all set up with the equipment. And then I was trying to learn how to use Zoom and Microsoft Teams. And, it's there's some very basic things that people need to do, like putting themselves on mute and... I don't know, having their camera somewhere where they're not, sort of, you just see the top of their head or the bottom of their chin. So, and actually, I was trying to do all of that stuff to keep up to speed with what was happening, so I could advise my staff, so I could reassure people, so I could decide what we could do.
Yes.
Whether we needed to furlough anybody, and just for my own peace of mind, really.
Yes.
So there was a lot of stuff and I had the most horrendous headaches for the first couple of days. Just
staring at a screen,
Yeah, absolutely.
I imagine. I was talking about this with Rachel yesterday from Dog Aid. I was talking about this new etiquette we've all had to learn when it comes to things like Zoom. Making sure you're muted because I was doing like a marketing thing the other day, and somebody was doing their intro. They put this thing together. And they're talking through it very passionately, and I'm like, coughing through it, and I forgot my thing was on mute, and it's just a nightmare, it really is. But that's how we've had to do things. I mean, kept the biscuit going for a bit. Are you guys going to move forward with the online thing, or are you really looking forward to get back hands-on or face-to-face, like you said?
Well, it's interesting. We had a meeting about that just last week, because I think there are some things that we can do, continue to do online, which would be really effective. So, for example, one of the things that we do is we support the village halls around the county. And there's lots of issues around village halls. They have to be meeting the legal requirements for things like environmental health and food safety and licensing and music licenses. And now they've got a whole raft more of things around social distancing and, cleaning and all that kind of thing. So, but actually, because they're scattered throughout the whole of the county, trying to get those people together in a room to do a briefing session or a training session has always been challenging. So in the past, what we've done is we've said, well, we'll do something in North Shropshire, and then we'll do something in Shrewsbury, and then we'll do something in South Shropshire to make it accessible for people. We can continue to do that on Zoom, and they don't have to travel anywhere. They can come in for just an hour on the call, or maybe 2 hours, find out what they need, interact with other people on the call, and that's a brilliant way of them getting the information, being able to ask questions, and really benefiting from that. We do quite a lot of training as well for other organisations, so in things like fundraising and health and safety and governance, trusteeship, that sort of thing. Again, normally what we do is, we have to bring people in the room. We've got a training suite in our building, but it's limited to about 16 people.
And then during social distancing, I guess that
it'd be even less.
Dwindles.
It'd be about 6 people probably that we could bring.
Yeah.
So we can continue to do some of those things online. What will be more challenging is the social bit of getting people into a room to talk to each other.
It really is heartbreaking because, it's something that it's going to be very difficult for the foreseeable future, I imagine.
Yes, and I think we're looking at sort of next May before we can really seriously think about getting things back to any kind of normality.
I mean, are there certain things that you can say ping pong? Imagine people playing ping. I was going to say they're a metre apart, but that's quite a high intense game. But have you had to really go to brainstorming to think about games you could play, things you can plan that are socially distanced?
Yes, we have, but they're not necessarily... so, for example, one of the things that we do is we have a social group for people who look after somebody with dementia.
Yes.
And quite a lot of that is around reminiscence work, and singing is very popular. Singing's pretty much out, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
And people... it's very difficult to engage with somebody when they're 2 metres away. It doesn't feel comfortable. We're used to being quite close to people. So there are some things that we can do, but we need to really talk to our clients and say, are you happy to come back? Because my sense is that quite a lot of them are terrified and actually don't want to come out until they feel it's really going to be safe.
Yeah, I imagine so. I mean, as a charity, have you guys been affected financially? I mean, of course, people haven't been able to go out and take part in events that charities have been putting on, go to shops, the fundraisers. Has it really affected you guys badly?
Not yet. Most of our funders have been really good about saying, because we're funded through a whole range of different things. We get some money from the council, we get money from DEFRA, we get money from the lottery. And they've all been very good about saying, we recognise it may not be the same thing that you agreed to do at the beginning of this contract or grant, but we want you to be doing something positive to help the community. And as long as it fits within that remit, then, we're happy about that. Obviously, we've lost out on some of the fundraising things. We were going to have a Bollywood ball in June with Indian food and Indian music, and it was going to be all very lively. And we originally postponed that to October, but we've now knocked that on the head, so we're not going to be able to do that. And we have other little fundraising things throughout the year which we're not going to be able to do or have not been able to do. So we haven't seen the impact yet, but I think, going forward it's going to be very much more challenging.
And would you say, during this period where we've all had to, reach into that initiative box and just be how can I solve these problems? You as a team, have you learned new skills during this that you're going to be able to use going forward?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the whole online thing is a big thing for us, obviously. But also thinking, as you say, creatively about how can we do things which are still going to engage people that's a bit different from what they thought they were going to do or what they signed up for. But, it's going to be, activity that they can enjoy and still feel connected to us as a charity and to the wider community.
Yeah, it's really important, isn't it, to just keep moving. I mean, you're saying, if you're not exercising, then you can seize up and problems can happen. And it's the same with the mind as well. You've got to keep stimulated, you've got to keep things happening. And people that are struggling to access your bits online, have you had a bit of pullback with that sort of thing with some of your clients? Have they been I can't do it, I can't jump online? You've had to really kind of really push? No, I wouldn't say that's been a big problem, but a lot of what we've done has been to telephone people. So we've had conversations with people. Go back to old school. So telephone befriending in particular, and we've asked people if they're willing for us to communicate with them by email, and we've had some people come back and say, I haven't got an email account, I haven't got internet, and so we can still communicate with them as long as we know. Sometimes people haven't given us their email address because they think we're going to bombard them. Well, I don't mean that we're going to bombard them, but they keep it very limited so that they only get a few emails on it from people that they know. So, but they've been a bit more willing to give us email addresses going forward. That's fantastic, and we're obviously covering the charities that are taking part in the Shropshire Virtual Show, but there's this thing in common, like with Rachel from Dog Aid, they're doing their training online, you guys moving a lot of your activities online, and I guess it's going to be a reoccurring theme. We're tackling a huge charity fundraising show, like we're full of amazing aspects and events and things. We're going to be there all day. We're going to be presenting the whole day. I'm really excited. But the thing in common is virtual. People being online. This has helped you guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one of the things that we asked was whether, because quite a lot of our group are hearing impaired, was whether it was possible to put subtitles on some of the events, and that's going to be possible. Not everything, obviously. Mm-hmm. But things like the Marcus Bean demonstration, they're going to put subtitles on so that people can engage with that, even if they can't hear.
Yeah, I mean, I do a lot of live Facebook like podcasts, and even Facebook, I think, does like subtitles now. It gets it wrong a lot of the time, so maybe when I'm talking about someone, I might accidentally offend someone, but that's not me. That's the subtitles. That's what you can say. Are you looking for? How are you guys taking part? Are you guys just going to enjoy the show?
Yeah, we're very much part of the business committee and the PR committee.
Nice,
my marketing manager has been very involved with the PR side, getting press releases out and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And I've been more involved on the sort of helping to get the sponsorship and sell business stands, that side of it, bringing the money in. But on the day, we'll just be enjoying it like everybody else. We're obviously promoting the competitions to try and get people to put their entries in.
It's nice though just to be like, we're doing this thing, we're doing it for you, enjoy. I think that's amazing. And what Anna and Scott and everybody else at the team, and Danny, everybody's doing that, taking part in this. I know there's a huge team of people. Hats off to them. I fell in love with these guys and what they were doing from the moment I spoke to them. Because we haven't had the flower show, we're not going to have Oktoberfest, the kids festivals, the food. We're not having these things. So, I mean, I'm encouraging people to make a big day out of this thing. The weather looks like it's going to be nice. Get out in the garden, wheel the TV out, buy in some nice food, get them some nice drinks, get the family around that are part of your bubble, of course, and enjoy it.
Well, it happens to be the day after my birthday, so
Yay.
I'm planning to do exactly that. We're going to have a bit of a late birthday party in the garden and have some friends around and watch some of the stuff online. So.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, it's just one of those things with Glastonbury, or V Festival was always the one where we would get some nice food in, everybody would sit around and enjoy the music and have some fun, but we haven't had that. So this is your opportunity, Shropshire. If you're listening to this, I mean, this is going to be available all around the world as well. So I know we've got listeners in America and Australia and Russia, strangely, but hey, thanks for listening. If you want to know what's going on in Shropshire, I mean, I've been sharing a lot of these vlogs lately about what's going on around touristy in Shropshire. This is what we do. This is what you're going to get an example of how Shrewsbury can put on a party. So it's going to be really good. What's going forward then? Say we come out of lockdown now. What's the future for you guys? Have you guys got a plan for if we come out of lockdown and if things ease up a bit?
Well, we would want to continue to do the work that we do. Actually, there's another project I haven't even told you about.
Oh, yeah, please tell me.
That's our Wheels to Work project, which is one of the big challenges for people is that they can't get to work because there isn't public transport. So if you're a young person, it's your first job, or, maybe not your first job, but, you've got a job, let's say, in care work or retail or something like that, and you live in a rural village. Getting to work is a real challenge because public transport doesn't run very frequently. It may be non-existent, and as a young person in your early career, you're going to get the worst shift. So if you work in one of the supermarkets and they want people to work on a Sunday, or they work in the evenings, they're going to go for the people who haven't got families, and the usual thing really. And so what we do is we offer people the use of a moped or an electric bike for up to 6 months. And that helps them to get to work, to earn some money, to save, to build up a bit of a track record if they wanted to get a loan to buy a bike or an electric bike, a moped or an electric bike. And it means that they've also got the option then of perhaps getting a second job. So, they might work in a supermarket during the day and then get a job in a bar in the evening. So that helps them to build things up, and they can, obviously they be a bit more independent. And so it's a way of building people's confidence and skills, track record, building their financial security. And then they give it back, and then we give it to somebody. Don't give it to them, they loan them. So during the lockdown, we haven't been able to use mopeds because the company that we use to service them to make sure that they're all, tickety-boo, they've not been open. So we've had key workers who've needed transport, so we've been using electric bikes. So and as long as they're not having to travel vast distances, an electric bike is fine. And of course, there's a big push now because of the latest government obesity strategy to get people out on bikes. So we see ourselves as having a role in that whole agenda, encouraging people to cycle and putting in place some of the infrastructure that people need, because, people don't necessarily have the confidence. If they haven't ridden a bike for 20 years, there's not necessarily the opportunity you don't want to go and spend a lot of money on a bike and then find you don't like it. So there's some opportunities there. Our work generally is about helping communities to help themselves, because we can't do everything ourselves. So there's a lot of work rebuilding communities after COVID, building those connections, helping some of those fledgling groups that have set up during the crisis to get more established, to be a really strong network of community support within the county. So helping them with things like constitutions and bank accounts so that they can apply for grants, training so that they're on top of some of the issues. I've been doing a survey just recently about some of those groups to ask, what have been the challenges that you've faced? And one of the challenges is managing the volunteers. Because, people come forward, and if they want to give their time and their energy and their effort, but they may not be right for some reason. They might be a bit overwhelming.
It's hard to say thanks, but no thanks.
Exactly. But there are tools that you can use to do that. So we'll be offering some training in that. There's a whole range of thhave
We were looking at I'm looking at getting constitutioned, as some sort of public entity or something, because we have had people looking for work experience that have been wanting to get involved with the radio or what we're doing, and we've had young people put their names forward. I'm like, we're not insured, we can't do that. So I'm really sorry, but at the same time, I want to apply for grants and things, and become a more legitimate sort of thing, because at the moment this is just a hobby, but we do a great job. So that's why we're getting a lot of the respect that we're getting, because we put a lot of hard work into it. And, people like yourselves, we can kind of teach people how to go through that is really important. And the Wheels to Work scheme, I really like that, because, I've been driving 3 years. I learned to drive when I was 30, and it just opened up my world. Yeah. Absolutely opened up my world. I say that to young people all the time. I was like, you have no idea how great it is to be like, I can apply for a job in Oswestry, or I can, in Telford, or you can drive like 30 miles to work. It's fine, or you can go see your friends. It really does just open your world and gives you a lot more independence. So that's fantastic. Are you guys going to be at the event at the Cavalier Centre? I know we're going to be there.
I won't be, because I'm having a party in my back garden.
You're having a party in your back garden, yeah.
Possibly, because they need about 15 volunteers to steward it and marshal and all the rest of it. So I'm hoping some of our staff or volunteers will come forward and be willing to do that.
Fantastic.
I'd love to go, but I can't do everything.
Well, you can be there. You can be there just by going onto the website, which is shrewsburyvirtualshow.com. Going on the website and check it out and put that date in your diary. And everything's going to be run by that website. It's not going to be on Facebook or anything like that. It's going to be run through that website. So we're going to be going backwards but forwards in a way, because we're going to be using that website to access everything. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it. We're going to be there in a big way.
And a lot of new content as it's happening, which is really
all unique stuff as well. Yeah. And they're still bringing up new things. They're saying they've got new. Marcus Bean. I need to try and get. There's so many people I need to speak to. The Dirty Rockin' Scoundrels are going to be there, and they did the Shropshire Drive-In Festival, the first one they did. And they did this show to cars, and instead of people applauding them, they were beeping their horns and flashing their lights. It's just a strange scenario. And now they're going to be doing a virtual show where I'm probably going to be on stage going, "It's the Dirty Rockin' Scoundrels," and there's not going to be anybody clapping. there's going to be no energy to feed off. I just want to speak to them and find out how it's going to be for them. But yeah, there's so much going on at the moment. Virtual flower show. This is going to be the way it's going to be for now. It's terrible, but a lot of your people, a lot of the clients and the people around your charity will be able to access it. Are you guys encouraging?
Yes,
people
absolutely.
teaching people how to...
We're promoting it as hard as we can and saying to people, and in particular things like the competitions, because people have been stuck at home, and if they've been writing poetry or painting or taking photographs, so get your entry into the competition. Do your open garden video.
Shropshire's got talent. I remember when I was about 11. There was like this. I was at this party. It was like a day-long thing. I don't know. I can't remember what it was. And there was a charity, like a talent contest. And I spent the whole day batting a ping pong ball on a paddle, and I thought this was an amazing. So I entered myself into the talent competition and just stood on the stage. Sorry, that's really just a crazy memory that just popped into my head. How can people help you? I know you say you get a lot of funding from the lottery and things like that, but how can people help you that listen to this show?
Well, we would always be very glad of any public donations. Some of our work, Wheels to Work, for example, doesn't get any statutory funding, that is funded through public donations and grants if we can get them. Volunteering, if people would like to volunteer, we have about 150 volunteers attached to our charity doing a whole range of things.
What kind of things?
Well, I talked about the hearing loss
yes.
thing earlier. Another scheme that we have is where people go into care homes as an advocate for somebody who doesn't have somebody to advocate for them. So it's a bit of a befriending scheme, but it's also to make sure that, if they've got any issues or, I'll give you a silly example really. There was a lady who, she had a table lamp that she took from her home into the care home. And the care staff decided that it wasn't safe because it hadn't been pat tested and it was quite big and it was in the way. So they moved it out of the way so she couldn't see it anymore. And she was upset about it, but she didn't feel that she could say anything to the staff. So when her advocate went in and said, how's things? She said, well, I really miss my lamp. And so they were able to sort that out for her. It's the silly little things like that which a volunteer can make a huge difference. We have an oil buying scheme.
What is that? I see that on the website,
I know, so many stuff. There's so much stuff, isn't there?
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that we try and do is to tackle fuel poverty, because people who live in rural Shropshire in particular, if they're off gas, they're either using liquid petroleum gas, which comes in a big tank, or heating oil. And heating oil is a very volatile product. The cost goes up and down literally on a daily basis. And so one of the things that we've seen over the years, and this applies to a whole lot of things, is people are very loyal to a supplier that they've used for a long time. So if they've always used a particular oil supplier, they just say, can you come fill my tank up? What we do is we say to people, if you tell us what oil you need, we will collate all those orders together on a particular day in the month, and we will shop around for you. So we will go to an oil supplier and say, we've got 100,000 litres of oil that we can sell for you. Well, not sell for you, but, that we are wanting to buy on behalf of our customers. And what's the best price? And we talk to different suppliers and we'll get them to give us the best price. And the price can vary by as much as, 10 or 15 pence a litre. And so when people join our scheme, they know that they're going to get the best possible price that we can get for them on the day for heating oil. And typically they would save about 4 pence a litre on what they would be able to get individually. Because if you're going to an oil supplier and asking for 500 litres or 1,000 litres, you haven't got anything like the same bargaining power. So from the oil company's point of view, they know that if they're delivering to a whole village, they've just got one drop off. So the tanker comes, they drop off the whole village, so everybody benefits, and then you haven't got tankers coming every other day or whatever. So
that's really interesting. That is,
it is. It's a really good scheme. We've got about 750 members, but around 45 coordinators in a village level. So they'll help people to check how much oil they've got in their tank. They'll take the orders and they collate them up and they send an order in from a particular village. So I don't know, pick a village, Loppington, let's say. So the Loppington coordinator will collate all the orders and say Loppington Village needs 35,000 litres, and obviously gives us all the addresses so we know where to deliver to. So that's another volunteer role which is quite helpful for us. And then other volunteer roles around things like if we have a fundraising event, we need people to come along and hold buckets and perhaps get involved with the actual organisation of the event. We have a Christmas card stall at the St Mary's Church where we sell Christmas cards, and we need volunteers for that. If people are interested in volunteering and come and talk to us, we'll find a role for them, let's put it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Go to Shropshire RCC, it's .org.uk. But if you put it in Google, it'll come up, so I'll just Google it. Just give it a Google. Thank you so much for joining me today. I mean, you've been fantastic. You've taught me about things that, what you guys do, especially the oil scheme, is just fantastic. I'd never really thought about that before. So thank you for coming in.
You're very welcome.
Have you got any messages for people that are part of your team or part of, your clientele? Have you got any messages for them?
Oh, I wasn't expecting that question. Well, all I can say is that, COVID-19 has been devastating for people, but I think Shropshire as a county has really stepped up in terms of looking after the vulnerable people and making sure that people are coping with the crisis, and my team have been amazing. They really have. They've been absolutely fantastic. So thank you, team.
Thank you, team. Thank you. Thank you for joining me on the Shrewsbury Biscuit. And listeners, thank you very much for listening to this episode too. We've been recording this today from the Parade Shopping Centre. There's lots of changes going on out here. You definitely need to come and have a look around. Lots of new units open, new people moving in. Come and have a walk around. Things are changing every day. And thank you for the guys at the Parade for letting us play in your sandbox. That's what I always say. Make sure you check out our website, which is www.theshrewsburybiscuitpodcast.co.uk. You can access all of our audio, and you can get in contact with us from that website too. That's lovingly made for us by our friends at Web Orchard. Thank you very much again for joining me on the show. It's been really great talking to you, and we will be covering the Shropshire Virtual Show. Make sure you check out their website. There's lots going on there. 5 great charities that need your help, and in return, you're going to get a whole day of entertainment accessible online. It's going to be fantastic. So, thank you very much for joining me, and we'll catch you guys next time. Peace out. Thank you.